Hello and welcome back to Algoma Family Services Community Kitchen at Home Edition. This week our theme is weekly meals. This video is part 1 of 4 in a weekly meal prep series. Hopefully by the end of this series I will have convinced you that weekly meal prep is totally worth it. Sometimes weekly meals can be such a chore. After a long day it can be hard to get the motivation and the energy to create a healthy meal. So why not try your hand at weekly meal prep? Prepare your ingredients on a day that best fits your schedule and have your ingredients ready to go for your busiest days of the week. Our meals combine 3 main ingredients: chicken breast, broccoli, and rice. By the end of your grocery shopping trip and your ingredient prep day, you'll have everything you need to make 3 healthy, simple, and quick recipes. These recipes include barbecue chicken and rice casserole, white chicken chili, and chicken and broccoli fried rice. Today we're going to focus on all the ingredients you're going to need for the week, and I'm going to walk you through preparing and storing these ingredients as well. Before we get started, let's take 20 seconds to wash our hands with warm water and soap. To prepare for the week, you're going to need the following ingredients: 1 avocado, 3 medium heads of broccoli, about 2 pounds or 1.5 pounds of pre-cut florets, 2 medium carrots, cilantro, but this is optional, 5 cloves of garlic, 1 piece of ginger, or if you don't have fresh ginger, you can use dried ginger as well, 1 bunch of green onions, 1.5 limes, 1 yellow onion, 8 ounces or 1 cup of frozen yellow corn, 10 strips of bacon, so that's about 12 ounces, boneless, skinless chicken breast, about 5 pounds of that, 1 tablespoon of salted butter, 2 large eggs, 4 ounces, so that's about half a cup of sour cream, avocado oil or extra light olive oil or grapeseed oil. So you'll need about 2 teaspoons of that and 2 tablespoons as well. Store-bought barbecue sauce, 40 ounces or about 5 cups of chicken broth, a 1/3 cup of soy sauce, hot or mild diced green chilies from the can, so you'll need about 1 4-ounce can, 2 teaspoons extra virgin olive oil, 2 teaspoons toasted sesame oil, 1 15-ounce can of white beans, 20 ounces or about 3 cups of white rice, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano leaves, half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and salt and pepper. Today we will be cooking and shredding our chicken, cooking our rice and bacon, and preparing our broccoli florets, onions, ginger, garlic, and carrots. We will get started with the chicken since it takes the longest to cook. It's time to cook and shred the chicken. First, you're going to season your 5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast with 1 teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Put the chicken in a large saucepan with a lid over medium-high heat and cover with approximately 5 cups of water. I didn't have a large enough saucepan, so I separated my chicken into 2 separate pans. Place the lid on the pan and simmer for 15 to 20 minutes until the chicken easily falls apart when poked with a fork. Then remove the chicken from the pan. Shred the cooked chicken with 2 forks. Put 4 cups of the shredded chicken in a container labeled casserole. Put 3 cups in a separate container labeled chili, and put the remainder of the shredded chicken, about 3 cups, in a 1/3 container labeled fried rice. Store this in the fridge for later use in the week. Cook 3 cups of white rice according to package directions, then let it cool. Scoop 4.5 cups of the cooked rice into a container, then scoop another 4.5 cups into a separate container. Label one container casserole and the other container fried rice. Store this in the fridge for use later in the week. Preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Lay 10 strips of bacon on a rimmed baking sheet and bake until crisp. This will take anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes. The total cooking time will depend on the thickness of your bacon. Transfer the bacon to a paper towel lined plate and let it cool. When the bacon is cool enough to handle, coarsely chop or crumble 6 strips. Put the chopped or crumbled bacon in a container and label it 6 strips bacon. Repeat with the remaining 4 strips and put a separate container labeled 4 strips bacon. Store in the fridge for use later in the week. Cut a head of broccoli into small florets and discard the stem. Cut the florets off the remaining 2 heads of broccoli. Put the broccoli florets in a food processor. If you're like me and you don't have a food processor, you can use a blender or you can use your handy dandy knife. You may need to work in 2 or 3 batches depending on the size of your food processor, blender, or your knife. Pulse until the broccoli is coarse and has a rice-like texture. Store the broccoli, rice, and florets in separate containers in the fridge for use later in the week. Label the rice, casserole, and the florets, fried rice. Dice a yellow onion, then store it in the fridge for use later in the week. Thinly slice your green onions until you have about 3/4 of a cup. You may not need to use the entire bunch of green onions. Once you're done, store it in a container for use later in the week. Shred 2 medium-sized carrots with either a box grater or with the shredder attachment of your food processor. Store this in the fridge for use later in the week. Mince 5 cloves of garlic, or until you have 1 tablespoon plus 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. Store in the fridge for use later in the week. Grate a 1.5 inch piece of ginger until you have 2 teaspoons. Store this in the fridge for use later in the week. If you don't have access to fresh ginger, you can use a couple pinches of dried ginger instead. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Community Kitchens. Be sure to tune in to part 2 of this weekly prep video series, where we throw together our first prepped meal of barbecue chicken and rice casserole. We'll see you next time.